So here's the quote that I wanted to read you. Then I want to tell you what we're going to be doing, at least what I think we're going to be doing, unless something else happens over the next few months. This is from Jetsuma Tenzin Palma. She's, I think her heritage is British. She's a Tibetan practitioner. She's rather amazing, and she's written different books. I was saying maybe sometime we should study one of her teachings, but not this time. But here's a quote from her. It's important that we develop wisdom. That's what we're doing. Buddhism is the dual wings of wisdom and compassion. Too much compassion, it's too mushy. Too much wisdom, it's too cold. But to fly on the wings of, or to be carried on the wings of wisdom and compassion. She says, wisdom here means the ability to take in the darkness and transform it into light. I'd say to fly in the darkness and the light, with the wings. Just know how to move and breathe. She goes on to say, His Holiness the Dalai Lama is such a good example of living this, being this. People come to him with all their sorrows and suffering from all over the world. From all these countries where people are suffering, they come to tell him about their people's suffering. And you know, his heart is wide open. He listens and he weeps, and they weep, and they're all sitting there having a good cry. And then suddenly, something occurs to him. And they start talking, and within 5 minutes, 10 minutes, everybody is laughing. And they all come out with big smiles on their faces, feeling a big lump has been taken off and it's dissolved. This is his wisdom. This, I think, is bodhisattva wisdom practice, to be able to move and feel deeply, really be present exactly with the abortion ruling. It's like, oh my goodness, let's not bypass this and the suffering. And let's not cut anybody out of our hearts. But also then let's take a breath and pay attention to the summer light coming in the window, or whatever it is that arises, what's the appropriate response in each moment. That's what bodhisattvas are able to do. To meet alive, to be alive. You see, the Dalai Lama is always smiling. How does this happen? It's not that the Dalai Lama doesn't know about suffering, doesn't take it in. And I've seen, and you've probably seen, when he meets people, you can see that people feel so met by him, seeing exactly where they are. He doesn't have some idea about what Buddhism is or who you should be. He meets you right where you are. But he's also not caught. He's not caught in some box with you or with anything. You see, the Dalai Lama is always smiling. Everybody loves His Holiness's smile because it comes from the heart. It's real. You trust him. It's the opposite of a politician's smile. Let's not hope that's always true, but probably more true than what's an authentic smile and what's authentic weeping. And it can all be skillful means. So my thought is, over the next July, August probably, we're going to turn towards, when we asked for, during the Sangha, remember when we had the Sangha meeting, and what do you want? And one person at least, but anyway, I heard it said, Dogen. Let's study Dogen. Usually Sanghas would not study Dogen in the summertime. It would be more serious. It's like, we're going to study now. It's just. But I'm hoping we can study Dogen's Genjo koan with a lightness of heart. We can study it as poetry. We can let it inform our lives as we go about our days. And I'm even thinking we'll see if I can do this and if it's too much, is because it is poetry, to enter it as the beauty of poetry. And maybe I'll try to bring poems that I think are mirrors or parallels of what Dogen is saying. And maybe some of you will also find these things. So we'll do that. And then one of the things we've done traditionally every summer is we've done some Sangha members do way-seeking mind talks. We're going to do something a little different this year, but probably in September I'll be calling on some of you. And then in October, we'll be entering practice period, which is more lighthearted, but it's serious. It's a time of deep and focused practice. So that's my no plan. So the two books that we will be, that I'm going to be drawing on, as well as lots of notes and other resources, but the two books, and I'll put this in the newsletter, is Shohaku Okamura has Realizing Genjo Koan, which is a really, if you want to dive into it, Shohaku is pretty accessible. And this one is Dogen's Genjo Koan 3 commentaries. And it has translations and commentaries by Suzuki Roshi and Mel Weissman and Kaz and others. But I thought that I would start with just a little commentary by Shohaku Okamura about Genjo Koan. All of us must aim to manifest with our own bodies, notice bodies and mind, a personal practice that is at the same time a practice for the community. This is really important. We must say to ourselves, this is my practice. No one can perform my practice, live my practice for me. Take responsibility. Be responsive. It's the root word of responsibility. It's not onerous. It's joyful, actually. But we must also say, this practice is actually not just for me, but for the whole community. And I would say for the whole world. You worried about the world? Take care of your own state of mind and what's here right now. And then extend it out. You'll know what to do. Or not do, because sometimes we do things because we just think we're scared or anxious, or we'll find a different way to respond, which is clearly what the whole world needs. We can't keep doing the same old thing. We have to find how we can best serve the whole community, yet we must do this through our own personal action and responsibility. We are completely independent. Completely. When you sit on a cushion, when you sit in your chair, wherever you are, you sit there. Nobody's there with you. I mean, we're all here with you, but you take responsibility for your own breath, for coming back, for your own posture, for your own state of mind. And at the same time, we are fully part of the community. We are here in this room. We are in San Francisco. We are in New Mexico. We are in, I'm looking who's on the screen, we are in Berkeley, we are, yeah, Elle was here on Tuesday and she just got back from Poland and in Ukraine, and we are, don't think there's anybody out there, and be right here. So how we actualize both sides of our lives within one action. This is really the basic point of our lives. How we actualize both sides of our lives within one action. How do you express all of this in each moment? Genjo Koan's going to tell us the answer, don't worry. That was a joke. No, but it is, it will. It is true for all beings, but especially important for us to recognize since personal independence is emphasized so much in today's society. I don't know about you guys, but I saw a lot around July 4th. People were calling it Interdependence Day instead of Independence Day. It's a different mind. If we think of ourselves only as independent persons and do not consider others, we cannot live in harmony with other people. If, on the other hand, if we undervalue individuality in our community, this is also unhealthy. If we see only our independence and think I can do whatever I want to, we become isolated and egoistic. These two extremes are sicknesses caused by misguided views of one reality. In actuality, we are living both. All the time. All the time. As independent, unique people. I love, the longer I practice Buddhism, the more I love that it doesn't say, would you please turn yourself into a good Buddhist? It says, would you please become completely who you are all the way through? So it says, Ellen, please become completely Ellen. And Gretchen, please become completely Gretchen. And Romaine, please live your life fully and deeply and manifest Romaine all the way through. I think that's so beautiful. It's like you don't tell a sunflower to be a violet. It's just you appreciate and love all of it in each moment. And we are also parts of a community. We learned this in Earth Dharma. You can't separate it out. And take care of this moment. To be healthy, we must live within both aspects of this truth. When we grasp only one aspect and live accordingly, we become sick either through collectivism or through egoism. We can see the danger of collectivism in political belief systems, which I have my own political belief systems, and tribes that I sign up for, believe me, and I think we're right and the others are wrong. But you know, when you look at the other side, you see what happens when we hunker down in our tribes. We really have to find new ways. We have to live together, and in order to live together, we must, in a sense, put aside our uniqueness. The most important teaching of the Buddha is that we must find the middle way. So we must avoid the extremes of egoism or collectivism and practice with reality as the middle way. We have to create our own way. There is no fixed middle way in each situation. Nobody's going to tell you how to do it. There is no one way to do it. We must see the whole of every situation and find the healthiest, happiest way of life in each circumstance. This is the essential point of both Buddha's and Dogen's teachings. Maybe I'll say that again. We must try. This is practice. This is what you do on the cushion. This is what you do on the cushion. Is you sit this individual body down and you breathe in and out. And you be with. You don't try to mute it or bypass it, but you also don't get lost in it. Is you really feel this individual life. Because how are you going to feel life if you can't be present with the thoughts and feelings and sensations and likes and dislikes, and it's moving in and out, and the more that happens, things begin to open, and you begin to realize, oh, this is what it is to be a human being, not just this human body. Everybody in the room is experiencing this in one way or another. Every human being on earth is experiencing this in one way or another, and then it keeps opening and opening, and your heart gets bigger, and your eyes, your Dharma eye gets wider. And then there's just a bigger field to respond and move from, and to receive the way the world comes in. And then it becomes both completely individual and collective, and the middle way, which is just right through what's the appropriate response in this moment. In Genjo koan, I'm almost finished with this, Dogen created a metaphor to express the reality of individuality and universality. He said that individuality can be expressed as a drop of water. in universality or equality as moonlight. So one of the things I think that will be beautiful is when we were practicing with Earth Dharma, we talked about at different times how much Buddhism uses the metaphors and the actual teachings of nature. Dogen's language is full of the natural world. So here we have dewdrops and we have moonlight, and you'll see, it goes on. He said that this universal moonlight is reflected in even the smallest drop of water. This is the reality of our life. We are individual and yet universal. The vast, boundless moonlight is reflected in our lives and through our practice. And we can keep awakening to the reality of both individuality and universality. When we think about reality, we tend to go to one extreme or the other. I would give you the red flag of reactivity, self-righteousness. It's uncomfortable, but you can notice it. I confess. Notice it. Take a breath. Thinking comes out of our experience, and that is our karma. That's all. You just got activated. Your karmic life just got activated. And then you just say, oh, thank you, Buddha. What an amazing opportunity that the world has just given me to wake up in this moment. And it's uncomfortable, but I'm going to breathe and stay with it and see what happens next. Depending upon our past experiences, we have the tendency to think that one side of our lives should be more important than the other, and we lose sight of reality as a whole. When we are grounded in Zazen practice, I would say Zazen living, each and every activity we perform in our daily lives is an opportunity. Each and every moment is an opportunity to practice and awaken to the reality of the individual and the universal. Genjo is nothing other than koan, and koan is nothing other than Genjo. Genjo means reality, actually and presently taking place, and koan means absolute truth that embraces relative truth, or a question that true reality asks of us. So we say that Genjo koan means to answer the question from true reality through the practice of our everyday activity. So Genjo koan is, please show up. Show up. For yourself, for the whole world. Fall down, get up. Whatever it is, don't think, don't get trapped in, if I was a good Buddhist, this wouldn't be happening. It's like, oh, thank you, Buddha. It was so easy to be open and joyful a moment ago, receptive to the whole world. And oh, in this moment, I can feel the doors and windows slamming shut, or some dark corridor that I really feels like ancient twisted karma. It's just like you just bow, you just take a breath. Here we are. We're living in a time where there's great opportunity here for ourselves and for everybody. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to splash and play in the koan of what is it to be alive, right in the middle of these glorious summer days, the full moon that just happened, and the awareness of, through our personal and collective life, there is also great suffering. And we'll help each other. We'll fall down and we'll get up and we'll help each other. And we're going to have Dogen to help us. So for some people that's good news, and some people that's bad news. We'll find out. So I thought what we could do. So I want to. I don't know how. I don't think we're going to get to do the whole thing probably, because I want to do service. But we have a little bit of time. And for people here, I printed out the Genjo koan in the room. And for those of you on screen, Gretchen's going to share screen it. And I thought that we could, maybe here's what we'll do. is it's divided into sections. I think I have my own copy here. Is the one you have, does it have numbers on it?
No.
Or it's just paragraphs?
Oh, no, it does at the end of each paragraph.
At the end of each paragraph, it's got numbers.
Right, so mine's not exactly like yours,
I have two.
but, well, I can, oh, I see. So I think what we'll do is let's start with, we'll read that first paragraph together, and then when we get to one, I'm gonna ring a bell. And then just sit with it for a moment. And then we'll read together the second paragraph, and we'll see, it doesn't matter if we get through the whole thing or not, but you'll begin to get a taste or a flavor for it. What I would really like to recommend is that you don't get tangled up in thought processes. Dogen will drive you crazy, because his whole point is you can't get it through linear thought. Dogen finally opened for me. I've heard this, I've told this story before, is we were up in a mountain lake in the Sierras, and I had brought Dogen with me. And I started reading it by the mountain lake, and all of a sudden it started to sing. Because it was just coming in a completely different way. So let's just chant this as poetry. And maybe there's a word or a phrase that will come forward, and that will be beautiful. You can take it with you, or you can just let it move through you. Okay. Genjo koan. Together. As all things are Buddha Dharma, there is delusion, realization, practice, birth and death, Buddhas and sentient beings. As myriad things are without an abiding self, there is no delusion, no realization, no Buddha, no sentient being, no birth and death. The Buddha way, in essence, is leaping clear of abundance and lack. Thus there are birth and death, delusion and realization, sentient beings and Buddhas, yet in attachment blossoms fall, and in aversion weeds spread. To carry the self forward and illuminate many things is delusion. That myriad things come forward and illuminate the self is awakening. Those who have great realization of delusion are Buddhas. Those who are greatly deluded about realization are sentient beings. Further, there are those who continue realizing beyond realization, who are in delusion throughout delusion. When Buddhas are truly Buddhas, they do not necessarily notice that they are Buddhas. However, they are actualized Buddhas who go on actualizing Buddha. When you see forms or hear sounds fully engaging body and mind, you intuit Dharma intimately. Unlike things and their reflections in the mirror, and unlike the moon and its reflection in the water, when one side is illumined, the other side is dark. To study the Buddha way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be actualized by myriad things. when actualized by myriad things, your body and mind, as well as the bodies and minds of others, drop away. No trace of realization remains, and this no trace continues endlessly. I think we'll stop there for right now. You can find this online. If you have the little Kaz Tanahashi Moon in a Dewdrop, we're going to use his translation, but I'll be referring to Okamura's. It's really, I love using different translations because you realize how much, I mean, it has to come out of scholarship and embodied practice, but how much latitude there is to bring this forward. This is I mean, our tradition started in India, ancient China. Dogen brought it to Japan, and I think most, I don't, anyway, so the kanji, it was wonderful when Marilyn started bringing forward the kanji and the pictograms of you realize translators are using their own experience. They have to, their own body and experience to bring forward these words. So it's fun to see somebody like Suzuki Roshi, like how did he translate this? And how does Okamura translate this? And how does Mel Weissman translate this? And how does Kaz Tanahashi translate this? And then we'll be finding out, and how's it come through you? Because otherwise you think somebody else out there has it and you don't. And we take the middle way of be responsible, and they're our ancestors. I always have the experience that if you really open, Dogen's in the room. You can do mind to mind, heart to heart, and it's so surprising because it does come as an intuition. It's like, and then of course you think you got it, and then the minute you think you got it, then you lost it, or it turns anyway. That's just the way it is. But this is all alive. And that makes me really happy. And it makes me really happy that we have each other to do this with, because each person will bring forward their own life experience, I hope, because you can't help it because you're living your life right now. And we'll all, in Buddhism, is if one person wakes up, the whole world wakes up. So how we practice and be and express ourselves is touching and awakening the whole world. So if you feel the suffering of the world, let's practice deeply together and find the middle way that is an embodiment of the Dalai Lama laughing and crying and meeting each person exactly where they are. Otherwise, it's just, in my humble opinion, just some idea. And ideas aren't bad. We'll just keep breathing it in and out. So, having said all that, let's just practice embodying all of this through doing service. So I'm going to stand